哇，我生了你的小孩啊，
什么？
我生了你的小孩。
你当时跟他在一起多久？
2天，
是为了小孩。
2到3天，他自己走了。好，我找不到的人，他也没跟我，从来没跟我说。昨天突然9年之后跟我说过这个事情，你说换到谁能接受？
Lu Qin was only 25 years old when she met Ji Cheng, who was 27 at the time. The meeting happened through a matchmaker, something still common in small towns across China, where marriage is often seen as a collective project, usually led by the family. The expectations were simple: two young, single people, similar in age, with a chance to start a family. What no one expected was that within less than 48 hours, Lu Qin would already be living in the man's house. The beginning was just as quick as the end. After just one night under the same roof, Lu Qin vanished without a word. No letter, no message, just silence. Ji Cheng's family was confused, and as is typical in conservative environments, they quickly blamed the man. "Did you do something wrong?" they asked. "Did you offend her?" But Ji Cheng defended himself. He said nothing had happened, that it was a brief but respectful interaction. Still, his family wasn't convinced and spent days trying to locate Lu Qin without success. She had vanished like smoke. Over time, Ji Cheng accepted the situation and moved on with his life. He probably assumed it was just another one of those failed family-arranged dates. Until, 9 years later, the past came crashing back, and with force. Lu Qin, now 34, reappeared with a piece of news that would change everything. "I had a child with you. He's 9 years old." The news hit Ji Cheng like a bomb. It came from a woman he had only spent 2 or 3 days with, a woman who disappeared without a trace. How could he believe something like that? Lu Qin explained that she had been living in Macau for the past 6 years, married to a new man, and that her son, the result of that brief encounter, was living in Zhuhai, raised by a nanny. Due to bureaucratic issues, especially China's hukou system, which dictates where a person can legally live, work, or go to school, she couldn't bring her son to live with her in Macau. To do that, she needed the biological father's signature approving the move. And that's where the story gains more layers. Lu Qin hadn't come back out of longing, or to ask for child support, or to demand that Ji Cheng be a father. She returned to solve a paperwork issue. One signature, and according to her, after that, she would never contact him again. But that was enough to shake Ji Cheng's entire life. He had already built a new family. Suddenly, he found himself caught in an emotional scandal, pressured to sign a document that meant acknowledging a child he wasn't even sure was his. Above all, he felt betrayed not by a woman, but by a situation that forced him to confront something much bigger: the possibility of a son who had grown up without even knowing who he was. Despite the shock, the local media picked up the story and pushed for Ji Cheng to take a DNA test, and though hesitant, he agreed. But the question lingered: why did Lu Qin disappear the way she did all those years ago? According to her, the time she spent with Ji Cheng was short, but long enough to realize he had no direction in life. He wasn't working, lived with his mother, and showed no ambition or stability. In short, he didn't seem like someone she could rely on. That weighed heavily. At that moment, Lu Qin did what many women might do silently. She chose survival, and left without looking back. A few months later, she discovered she was pregnant, and she decided to have the baby, but it wasn't purely a maternal decision. She saw the child's birth as a way to comfort her parents, especially after her older brother got divorced and was no longer able to give the family a grandchild. And so, the filial piety child was born, the child brought into the world to meet the expectations of the elders. But as with many decisions made under pressure, the consequences eventually came. Raising a child alone, without emotional or financial support, wasn't easy. Lu split her time between odd jobs and caring for her son, until she met Ah Wei, a man from Macau, more stable, kind, and willing to accept the child as part of the package. Ah Wei wanted to build a new life with her, and he wanted the boy with them. But the system wasn't on their side. To legally move the child to Macau, they needed official consent from the biological father. That's what led to Lu Qin's sudden return and the search for Ji Cheng. When she found him, Lu Qin was direct. She said all she needed was his signature to complete the process. She didn't want money, involvement, or drama, but Ji Cheng couldn't accept it so rationally. He felt like he was being held accountable for something he never even had the chance to be a part of. In the days that followed, the two went to the local police station to begin the paperwork. The DNA test still needed to be done, but the tension was clear. Ji Cheng remained silent throughout the process, visibly shaken. If the test confirmed paternity, he wouldn't just be gaining a son, he'd be inheriting an emotional debt 9 years overdue. And the unavoidable question, would he have done things differently if he had known from the start? Lu Qin, on the other hand, remained firm. She knew hiding the truth from her son for all those years wasn't ideal, but she claimed she wasn't ready to tell him, that she was afraid it would hurt him. So, for now, she preferred to keep the secret, at least for a little longer. Still, she wrote a letter to the boy, a letter she might deliver one day, maybe. Son, I'm sorry. If one day you want to meet your father, I will allow it. When I applied for your move to Macau, I made an agreement with him, that we would never bother him. I could keep this from you forever, but I'm not telling you now because I'm afraid it would hurt you. When you grow up, you'll think differently. Mom will always love you. In the end, the question remains, did Lu Qin act out of protection or cowardice? And what about Ji Cheng? Is he truly the victim of emotional abandonment? Or just someone being forced to face a past he chose to forget? This is one of those stories without heroes or villains, just people trying to survive the consequences of unresolved choices. And you, what would you have done in their place? Leave your thoughts in the comments. This story is, at the very least, bizarre, but what's even more disturbing is realizing it's not that rare. Imagine if this becomes a trend, someone disappears for 9 years and suddenly comes back saying you have a child. And the worst part, they're not coming back out of regret or to apologize. They're coming back with a bureaucratic problem for you to solve. When you stop to think about it, this kind of thing is way more common than it seems. And it's not the first time I bring up cases like this on the channel. Stories of women who leave their husbands chasing a fairy tale they saw on social media. They want adventure, excitement, freedom, because the relationship got too boring. But when the dream falls apart, and it usually does, they come back. And they come back asking for forgiveness, trying to fix what they destroyed. The difference is, in this case, she didn't come back alone. She came back with a 9-year-old problem that she now wants to throw on someone else's shoulders, as if it's his responsibility to fix it. And let's be clear, it's not just women. A lot of men abandon their children too, disappear, and act like none of it is their fault. But what's shocking here is the timing, the coldness, and the way everything was handled. Like someone's life could just be paused for almost a decade and then picked back up as if nothing happened. In the end, no one wins. Not the father, who got blindsided, not the child, who grew up without a role model, and not her, who spent years juggling lies, guilt, and omission. Stories like this really make us reflect on responsibility, maturity, and the consequences of our choices. Because when someone makes a decision alone and hides it for years, they should also be the one to carry the weight of that choice. At least, that's how it should be. But what about you? What would you do in Ji Cheng's shoes? Or worse, what would you do if someone showed up at your door tomorrow with a little surprise like that? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear what you think about all this. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. It helps a lot and keeps me motivated to bring more stories like this one. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay with me. There's a lot more coming. See you in the next video. Take care.